It's not about motivation. Winners need discipline. Wake up and win today. Discipline comes from within.
Boxing King Media in association with Boxraw. Mr. Gareth A. Davies got a holding a book there. Is that a special book, Gareth?
Since they always call me the Fury fanboy, I'm also a Muhammad Ali fanboy. I'm also probably a Mike Tyson. I'm probably a Mike Tyson fanboy as well. There you go.
Are they your three favorite fighters there?
There's certainly three fighters that I love reading about. My favorite fighter is Mike Tyson is extraordinary. Tyson Fury is amazing in this era. Muhammad Ali is probably one of the greatest sports people of all time and one of the great sports stories of all time. But right up very, very high on my list, if not my favorite fighter, is probably Marvin Hagler. But we could go on and on and on. We could just do it.
I'll tell you what, I'll ask you a question based on your favorite fighters. You know, having a favorite, like you said, them guys are your favorites. So obviously you're a fan of Tyson as well. Does that you individually affect the way you report and talk about people that you're a fan of?
No.
Are you conscious of that though? Because people
I
judge.
always predicted Francis Ngannou would batter Tyson Fury. No, I didn't. I said he'd be dangerous for 10 minutes. No, I don't take any notice of the Fury fanboy stuff. Obviously, he's the only active boxer. Obviously, Muhammad Ali, formerly Cassius Clay, and marvelous Marvin Hagler are both they both passed, of course. But I do think Mike Tyson would have given Tyson Fury tremors. But I mean, pick a winner in that fight, you know? The prime Mike Tyson against the prime Tyson Fury. A lot of people would pick Mike Tyson. I might pick Mike Tyson, but I need to really think about it.
But are you ever conscious of that? Because obviously everything in the modern era, everything you report.
Listen, I picked Klitschko to beat Fury. I picked, or I certainly thought Klitschko would win that. I picked, and I was happy to be wrong. I picked Deontay Wilder to be the favourite against Fury in the first fight against Fury as well. So if I think there's a fighter out there that's going to beat Tyson Fury, then I'll pick that fighter. If Tyson wins, delighted. But it's a bit like I picked Artur Beterbiev to defeat Callum Smith, but I'd have been delighted for Callum Smith as a British person, and as you know, that would have been one of the great victories by a Briton abroad. But I'm not. What I don't do, I don't bet on people I never bet on boxing because I don't want that result. I'm not looking for that result, but I do pick a lot of fights. I do my picks, and you know, I can be judged on that. I mean, over time, you know, people can judge, you know, whether you're consistent or not, whether you pick a fight well or not. It's a bit like judging, which no doubt we'll come on to in a minute, because that's in the mainframe at the moment. But no, it doesn't affect me at all. It's part of the fascination of the sport. Do I think there are heavyweights out there that can beat Tyson Fury? Yes, there's probably 7, 8, 9, 10 of them, but that depends how he performs on the night. Do I think Alexander Usyk beats him? No, I don't. I think Fury wins, but I do think I'm very splinter bummed on the fence at the moment. And my splinter bum is that I believe the first fight will be a draw, and maybe even controversially.
Okay. We'll go on to the judgment.
Answer your question, sir.
Yeah. I think you gave well, the fact that you picked Wilder to beat Tyson, I think that kind of disproves a lot of that myth. But
yeah,
I've got 3 questions from the fans. We've missed them the last few times, so I've got 3.
Oh, yeah.
The first one is good because you're actually wearing them same glasses today. Does Gareth see everything in blue when he's wearing them specs?
Absolutely, I do. But it's a beautiful blue day today anyway. When it gets a little dark and it's a little grey, I struggle a little bit. But I've got a couple of other gloss. I've got clear ones. These are glosses, as you know. Yeah, I do see it has a blue tint to it, but it takes away the very, very bright glare of the computer and the sun.
Okay. Second one, Gareth is the kind of guy to collect his toast out of the toaster with his teeth.
Yeah, there you go. You got your meme now. I do flick it out and catch it. I will be honest, but I don't use my teeth.
Okay.
But doesn't everybody do that? Kind of pings it out of the toaster and likes to catch it.
No. Last one, Gareth. Gareth is the type of guy to hoover his garden path.
Hoover my garden path.
I love that one.
I've got a housekeeper, so I don't hoover the garden path.
Oh dear, Gareth has got a housekeeper. I'm gonna let people start making questions up now. Now the fact that we know Gareth's got a housekeeper, so there'll be loads.
I've been practicing, yeah, but I've been practicing closing the fridge with my hips, by the way.
Right. I think we're going to get some good ones now that you told everyone that you've got a housekeeper, Gareth. Let's start with the boxing. I want to start with Tasha Jonas, Michaela Mayer. It was a great event in the sense of the views, especially for Boxer. We've seen that they've come out and said 269,000. It was at its peak, which is quite a big number, and it shows where women's boxing is these days. The obviously controversy surrounding the fight, mixed opinions. I want to start on what Joe Gallagher said. Like he was quite, like he said something about on Dave Coldwell, basically saying, where are the real people in boxing like Carl Froch and Mac Macklin? Why was they on the comms? Why was Dave Coldwell doing it? Then obviously it's based on the fact that Dave picked Michaela to win, and then there was a suggestion that he was backtracking, but he's come out and obviously confirmed that he wasn't backtracking. So there's been a bit of drama about all that. So just initially tell me about the commentary side of things. Do you think, Sky should mix up the commentary? Are you happy with the commentary team they've got? And then we'll talk about the other bit.
Well, my view on Sky's commentary team is frankly irrelevant. I think Dave's a good commentator. I think he's obviously has a massive love of the sport. He's very involved. He's been involved with a lot of formidable boxers, and he enjoys doing the commentary when he's asked to do it. He's not on there all the time. I think Joe Gallagher is obviously going to be always very defensive about his own boxer Tasha Jonas, who he's been with a very long time. I don't think, and also he will always pick her to win. Let me be clear, I saw it as a very, very close fight, and I actually scored it a draw. They were back and forth in the first 3 rounds. I had Michaela winning the middle, I think 4-7, and then I had Jonas coming back in the 8th to the 10th. And what I'll say is this: the rounds that, and this is going to come back to Dave Coldwell's point and Joe Gallagher's point, the rounds that Michaela won, I thought she won clearly. But then there were a lot of, or there were several rounds. Remember, it's only 10 2-minute rounds, so they fly through. The rounds that were close were shaded, in my view, most of them towards Natasha, and so I had it 5-5. I don't see 6-4 to Natasha, and I don't see 7-3 to Natasha, but I could see a 6-4 to Michaela, and I could see a 7-3 to Michaela as well, if you were shading those very close rounds towards Michaela. So I understand where Dave Coldwell's coming from, but I also understand where Joe Gallagher's coming from, which is his fighter one. So I do see both sides of it. It was one of those typical fights that was extraordinarily close. Michaela Mayer was very aggressive and coming forward. Natasha Jonas's punches were very accurate and were very often the better punches. I know the punch stats supported Michaela. It was a very, very close fight. I'd love to see them do it again over 10 2-minute rounds. Natasha also wore most of the damage in the fight. I thought it was a brilliant performance by Michaela. I picked Natasha to win, by the way, on points, but I actually had it a draw. I think the critique that became personal between them is just one of those things in boxing. Joe is very protective about Natasha, and I do get that, as I said. But I also like the 2-minute rounds, and I also like 10-2s. Maybe go to 12-2s for women, but I like the 2-minute rounds because it means the action's phenomenal. But in elite level women's boxing, where they are both brilliant and both going for it, you are going to get very close results. But as you said, 269,000 viewers, what that does is it promotes women's boxing in a fabulous way, I think. It was a tremendous main event. And whether Natasha Jonas decides to take the rematch, I don't know, because I think she's probably looking at other fights, particularly the one with Katie Taylor. But that's my take on it, you know. I can clearly see where both of those trainers are coming from. The personal stuff, that's just what people do sometimes. They talk strongly about each other. But Dave Coldwell deserves his moment on Sky. Of course he does.
Do you think, in your opinion, do commentators, can they influence public opinion, which then obviously creates the narrative online?
Yeah, crowd and the home support persuades the judges, because people scream every time a punch is thrown. They're in 3 sides of the ring. They can't see every bit of action. Sometimes you see it better on TV. That's why sometimes people watch it back and they see a different result. But my view is you see it live once as the judges see it. If you're scoring it, as I always do, I always score a fight with a paper and pen. Most people watching a fight score it on an eye test. And Michaela, I think, on the eye test probably won it. But the commentators can sway the crowd, but they're just giving their opinion. It's not that the judges aren't listening to them during commentary. So the judges are the ones that score the fight. So if anyone has any real criticism of what happened and what the result is in the fight, then it's down to the judges. Liverpool fans are extraordinarily faithful to their own as well. It's a fight city. It's an amazing place for fighters and to go to for fight events. Always has been, boxing and MMA. But more than anything, I think what sways the judges. It's a bit like home football teams that they always say they do better at home. I think boxers and champions always do better at home as well. Had it been in the States, it may have been a different result.
I want to move on to Alycia Baumgardner. There's obviously been a big public backlash online, mainly that the WBC have cleared. But I think it's been a similar sort of situation with the Conor benn case, where the WBC have obviously done their investigation and they feel that there's no intentional use of performance enhancing drugs. So just want to get your views on how that is, and what that does that spell for the future of boxing. Like, should the WBC be doing their own investigations, or should it be the drugs governing bodies? Should it be boxing boards? Who should it be?
Well, she got cleared, didn't she, by the WBC, Alycia Baumgardner, and so she's taken her case, much as Conor benn did, and brought it forward, and that they were cleared by the WBC. So it was it a WBC? Was it a was it
It was I think she tested for 2 different ones, but I believe it was a WBC test that they've cleared her for. But obviously, you've got a drugs governing body that collect the sample, and their job is just to collect the sample. That's my understanding, and then it's down to boxing boards to ban fighters should they feel that's what they need to do. I think, I don't know.
But if she's cleared her name in the WBC, that's her moving her case forward. Look, here's the thing. Let's just be clear about it. You need to go through the due process. You need to go through the due procedure. If there are requirements for her to get her license back through the commission, whichever commission she's licensed with. She needs to go through the procedure. It's the same with Conor Benn. It's the same with anyone. We're still waiting, I think, for the results of that appeal hearing with Conor Benn's case. Obviously, he fights weekend after next, doesn't he, in Las Vegas. So for me, you need to go through the process. You can't cut corners with it. Whatever was in your system and was found in your system needs to be proven that it's not an illegal substance that's in your body. My apologies for not remembering who the opponent was. Just bear with me one sec.
Christina Linardato.
Oh, Linardato. Oh yeah, of course, Christina Linardato. Yes. She lost her and she won it back. She lost to Linardato further back in her career. It was the only loss she'd had in her career, correct? Yes. I think the test was in the build up to that.
Yeah.
Look, it's really clear if she's tested positive for these substances, and I haven't really been across this story in its totality, she needs to clear her name. It's as simple as that. You can't just do it with the WBC. You've got to do it with the testing body and your commission as well. You've got to have a hearing.
And the Conor situation, who's to blame for the fact that this appeal hearing that still hasn't even happened? He's fighting in 2 weeks, and obviously people are still highlighting this, but obviously he's gone through what he feels is the right process, and then the boxing board have obviously said, no, it's not. So they're going to appeal it, and then the appeal's not happened.
No, it's really strange, isn't it? We were told that this appeal hearing will probably happen in mid-January, and yet let's hope it's not 2 days before he fights next weekend or weekend after this, because it will just cast a pall over that event. Again, why do these things take so long? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. The hearing board, we heard about this, I think, 3 months ago, or 4 months ago, that it was going to be held. It beggars belief, to be honest. It's a morass. It's not transparent. There's no clarity to these things. It's always a mess. And all it does is confuses everyone who follows and covers boxing, that there isn't a clear procedure and a process through all these things. It's incredible that it gets dragged out so much.
The reason I'm highlighting it, Gareth, is because we're seeing at the minute, Conor's obviously getting a lot of flack online for this not being resolved, but in reality, if you look at the bigger picture, he's obviously done what he thinks is going to clear his name, but the boxing board aren't agreeing with that, and then it's just left in a cloud.
No, they're appealing the lifting of his suspension, aren't they? They're appealing the fact that it's based on jurisdiction, not strict liability. So, and if he wins his jurisdiction case, the strict liability doesn't come into play as much. So, again, what we need is a homogeneous, uniform drug testing system that is global, that comes from one body that oversees the entire sport itself. Random, pre-fight testing, all of those things. One body to oversee and be in charge of punishment, testing, or certainly not punishment, but testing across all the commissions in the world. That needs to be, as I say, a unified global situation, so that there is one simple process for any test that is obviously adverse or whatever it is.
The last thing I want to speak to you about, Gareth, is Ryder Mungia this weekend.
It's a really good fight this weekend. Don't miss it. John Ryder's brilliant at super middleweight. He's done his best career work. But Jaime Mungia, for me, is a coming force in the super middleweight division. He's big boned. His dad was a heavyweight, of course. I just think he might have the betterment of John Ryder in this fight, but I'd love John to win, but I'm not picking John to win the fight.
Is Mungia as good as his record suggests, though?
Yeah, he is. But he's got Gabe Rosado on there. He's got Devrenchenko. God, that fight, I've rewatched that recently. Brutal. Fight of the year for me last year. Amazing contest. Brilliant 12th round by Mungia. He's very, very dangerous, very strong, loves to fight. If he looks very impressive against Ryder, and I think he'll win on points, or he might even get a late stoppage against John, but that's very difficult against a very tough Ryder. And if John's on his top form, he could just pick this fight on points as well. But I think if Mungia wins, I think we might see him, even though people will go, oh, we might see him in with Canelo next.
Fascinating. Obviously, Conor's fighting next week, so we'll speak about that next week. And there's a couple of other things. I think there's a lot of stuff in the rumor mill, but it's not officially out, so we'll save that till next week sometime. I'm sure I'll see you at an event soon, Gareth. As always, appreciate your time, and I'd dread to imagine the comments we're going to get about you and your maid.
No, it's not my maid, it's my housekeeper.
Housekeeper, yeah. Housekeeper, sorry.
Listen, I got a question for you. Where can discipline take you? Discipline points you towards your goals.